All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the November meeting of the City of Binghamton Planning Commission. My name is Nick Corcoran. I'm currently the chairman of this commission, which is comprised of local community members tasked with reviewing site plans and special use permits for consistency with the standards and criteria set forth in the City of Binghamton Code. Based on our total number of planning commission members, 4 members must be present to constitute a quorum. Tonight, we have 7 members, which means we do have a quorum and can proceed. First item on our agenda is roll call. Mario DeFulvio. Joe D'Angelo is absent. Chris Judge Eats.
Here I am, rock you like a hurricane.
Chris, I'd like to say that I watched the YouTube video and I was very disappointed to see that we didn't see that last month, but thank you for that. Kelly Weiss.
Present.
All right. Manny Priest.
Here.
Kyle Nedlick.
Here.
And Tim Sesney. All right. Yes, thank you, Chris, for running the meeting last month. Fantastic job. It went very well.
We marveled at his efficiency to get us out on a timely manner.
But I'm glad you're back, Nick. I'm
All
glad
right.
you're back.
All right. Second item on our agenda is approval of minutes. Did everybody get a chance to look at the October minutes? Anybody see anything that needed to be changed or revised or updated? And if not, is there a motion to approve? All right. Motion to approve by Kyle, seconded by Chris. All in favor? All right. That's 7 in favor, 0 opposed. All right. On to the next portion of our meeting, which are seeker determinations. In this portion of our meeting, the Planning Commission will be reviewing documentation provided by applicants for the first time. Applicants will be called to the microphone where they will be asked to make a presentation describing their plans to the commission. Commission members may then ask questions of the applicant to clarify any items that are unclear. And after all questions have been answered, the commission will deliberate and then either set a public hearing date for the project or request additional information before proceeding. To all applicants that will be presenting tonight, we ask that you please state your name and address for our records before beginning your presentation. And we ask that any member of your team who will be speaking, please give their name and address for our public record. Tonight, our first seeker determination is for the applicant Abdo Development LLC, and the project address is 159 Conklin Ave. And this is a site plan review and a special use permit for the construction of a mixed-use building with 24 dwelling units on the upper stories and a 2,720 square foot ground floor general retail space in the C4 Service Commercial District. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah Campbell. I'm an attorney with Hinman, Howard and Kittal. I'd like to introduce Michael Abetten. He is a principal of the applicant, and he would like to explain the project.
All right. And make sure the green button is or green light is on and you got to speak right into the microphone.
Can you hear me?
That's perfect. Yep.
Michael Abetten, principal of ABO Development. Address is 25580 East First Street, Brooklyn, New York, 11223. Planning to erect a 4-story mixed-use building on 159 Conklin Avenue. It should host a 2,700 square foot commercial space with 12 one-bedroom units and 12 two-bedroom units. The building is going to be looking over the river. Currently, the land is vacant. There was a building that was on this land that burnt down a few years ago, and this is what's going to replace it.
All right.
Pretty simple.
Yeah.
It's a pretty straightforward application. There are 15 off-street parking spaces. The calculation for total required is 29. Be looking for, I feel like it's not on. We'd be looking for a waiver for those 14 spaces. There is landscaping perimeter requirement that we also require variance from if we can't. We're gonna ditch it. And we will also need to provide you with a landscaping plan. We see the staff comments with respect to a bike rack. I also know that you're going to want some material and color information, and we will provide you that at the public hearing.
All right. Any questions? Chris first?
Good evening. Question for the applicant, Ms. Campbell. Why should we waive the parking requirements?
Well, it's a difficult site because of the flood wall in the rear. And these are, these are not going to be, these are, like I said, 1 bedroom, mostly, some 2 bedroom. There also is some opportunity for on-street parking. We've maximized the parking that we can get on site, but just because of the odd shape of the parcel, it really is difficult to achieve the total parking requirement. Also, well, that's what I would say.
Is there a plan to address the concerns in the staff report about the buffer on the west side of the parking area and either having to eliminate 2 additional parking spaces or going to the ZBA for a variance?
We could do that. I mean, that's an opportunity also to proceed to the ZBA. You'll note if do you have an aerial? I assume you do have one as part of your staff report. There are buildings immediately adjacent to this on both sides. So probably before it built down, it was essentially a 0 lot line building, creating green space in a very narrow area, both for safety and aesthetics. It's really not going to be seen by anyone. Would be difficult. So this would be like an infill spot. There are essentially 0 lot line buildings on both sides. The applicant had an earlier plan, which was reviewed by the staff, and they made a comment with respect to moving it up to the sidewalk, which is the city's preference. And so we were able to modify it to do that and then maintain that streetscape with the other buildings. So it's like a row.
Hi, what would the application process look like for potential residents of this dwelling?
What is the application process? I mean, I assume that they would just, be a
Correct,
lead.
but are we looking for like student housing? Is it something else?
Well, unfortunately, the applicant can't discriminate amongst its potential residents, so it is not particularly geared towards students. There are really no amenities in the building that students typically want, open space, gyms, that kind of thing. But if a student was financially qualified, there's nothing we could do about it.
All right, just a couple of technical questions. So parking space number 8, I don't think you can actually physically get in and out of that parking space. So I think you don't have the full 24-foot drive aisle behind that entire parking space. So I think you're down 1 parking space right off this bat. That might help you though, because you've got a dead end parking lot. You've got to provide some way for if somebody pulls back in there and all the parking spaces are full, you've got to provide a waiver that they could pull in and back out. So by eliminating parking space 8, it would help you get that turnaround spot. There's also other ways you could keep parking space 8 by shifting everything down, making your dumpster area smaller or messing with some of the dimensions. But right now, as it is, just the technical side of it, you can't actually pull in and out of parking space 8 per the requirements of the code layout for parking spaces. And then just another kind of tiny thing. Most of the plants on the planting list, they're not appropriate for our zone. They will die immediately after, well, the first winter they will die. So just take a better look at the specific plants that are on that planting list.
I was going to say thank you.
Yeah.
We can definitely move the dumpster over, and possibly extend it over to the back of the property line and, either push parking space 8 to the east or make it a compact vehicle parking space.
Okay. All right. Just something to think about between now and the next
Yeah,
meeting.
thanks.
Um, all right, and the last, I think the last staff comment that we didn't really cover, staff recommends the installation of fencing along the western line of the parking area. I think you have a fence planned there, right?
Yes, after I received those comments, we put a fence on the western border.
All right, so you're gonna do a white vinyl privacy fence all along that entire western border?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Any other questions, concerns? All right. Good to see this piece of property redeveloped, so. All right, if there's no other questions or comments. I'll make a motion that the proposal involves construction of a mixed-use building, which is an unlisted action according to seeker, and that the planning commission should act as lead agency for seeker review. Seconded by Kelly, all in favor? All right, that's 7 in favor, 0 opposed. And I'll make a motion to schedule a public hearing in our December meeting for 5/25. Seconded by Kelly, all in favor? All right, 7 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. All right, our next seeker determination tonight is for the applicant Doak Engineering Design PC. Project address is 229 Main Street. This is a site plan review and special use permit for the establishment of a vehicle fuel station in the C1 Service Commercial District.
Good afternoon, good evening. My name is Brian Doak from Doak Engineering Design out of Owego, New York.
Yeah, pull that microphone right up to you.
Okay. Hear me
Perfect.
okay?
Yep.
And I'm representing Tony Singh, one of the client representative for the project. Briefly stated, the project is to take a former fluorescent retail sales place and convert it to a gas station / convenience store as the plans represent. With regard to some of the questions that have come up, you'll see in the site plan, I assume everybody's reviewed it, that there's sufficient parking. There's actually required by code 18 parking spots required. We're providing 20 spots. The dumpster is at the back of the building. There's ample lighting in the facility. There's a sign location shown on the plans. There's a representative sign shown in the plan sheets. There will be some regrading at the site. No additional, well, there will be some additional paving, but it'll be regraded to pitch away from the building and away from the property line at the back of the property. One of the main questions that came up during the review by the staff was landscaping. There's now the building front is to the north, so I might refer to the building left, right, front, and back. There is some landscaping at the front of the building existing, plan on retaining that. There is a green strip on the left of the building between our property and the next property over. It's just a green strip grass. We plan on retaining that. Most of it, there'll be a little bit of a impact from the island for the gas pumps. And then there will be, on the right-hand side, it's all pavement, sidewalk, no green space on the right-hand side. That's Bellevue, the side of it. Yeah, Belvedere. Yeah, and at the back of the property, there's an existing maple trees there, a variety of trees that we were planning on taking it out because the property owner has talked to us several times about the possibility of taking out because it's a nuisance on his property. However, based on the comments that have come back from the city, we're happy to leave the trees there. You know, and that's basically, it sounds like the biggest issue. Happy to entertain any questions if there's any clarifications I can give.
All right, Chris?
Yeah, let's talk for a minute about the south property line. The staff report notes that there is a residential zoning district immediately to the south of the site. And they're recommending an installation of a privacy fence along the south property line. First, are you willing to do that installation of a privacy fence as part of the approval process?
It's part of the plans now.
Oh, it is. Okay. Oh, I guess I don't think I've seen that. Okay. Second question. I know from some other plans that have come before us, some neighbors have raised concerns about lighting. So what kind of lighting is going to be going from the buildings onto the parking lot and onto the gas pumps that might bleed over into somebody's bedroom window and one of the neighboring residential properties?
Based on the photometrics I've looked at before for similar gas stations, the types of light that cascade beyond the perimeter of the island itself are within like 0 to 5 candle foot per square foot. So it's not a lot, but there will also be the fence there. Now, all of the lights in the canopy will cast the light downward. Okay, so there's no, it's expected we'll have those lights and we will have the cast lights down, but there'll be no additional lights except the existing wall pack on the back of the building. There's one wall pack back there now. And as you head towards Bellevue, on the side street, the street lighting is ample to provide sufficient lighting. And Main Street as well. There's additional light there. So there wasn't any plan to provide any additional light because, I mean, you're wrestling with not flooding the place with light that is going to ruin it for the neighbors. We
Right.
respect that. And the trees during the summer, and of course, they had blockage, but it's just that one wall pack back on the back side of the building. And they didn't mention anything about that being an issue.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Kyle?
What would the expected hours of operation be typically for the store to be open?
I put it in the application. I think it's like, let me look it up so I don't misspeak. We have the hours of operation from 6 until 12, Saturday through Sunday. And yeah,
All right. Tito, technical question for you. So the site plan shows 8 formal parking spaces, traditional along the edge of the building. And then it looks like the other parking spaces are listed as the ones that are in the queuing for the pump stations. Is that okay?
There is a separate requirement for stack spaces and for actual parking spaces
Okay.
to serve the store and the gas station portion of it. So technically, no, the queued spaces don't count as parking spaces.
Okay.
that's listed in my code analysis on sheet 2. I specifically identify that you need 1 parking space per pump station. So the ones that are shown there, in addition to the actual parked vehicles, are what's required by code.
Great. All right. So you've got the parking required for the building, along the building, and then the parking for the fueling stations identified separate. Okay.
The code analysis, it shows that,
Okay.
and I've identified each one by number. It's just randomly placed numbers, but
Okay.
it's all legit.
All right. how much of a pain in the butt would it be to move that curb cut along Main Street so that you've got a little bit of a weird entrance there where you enter and you're headed right towards the parking spaces, and then you have to jive out, either go over to the fueling stations or make a kind of a awkward turn into your parking spaces. And you can tell it's because you're trying to reuse that existing curb cut. Would it be, if you were to redo the curb cut and align it with kind of that fueling station entrance, or so that you came in right towards the fueling stations, you wouldn't have to do that weird maneuver with your car to get to the parking spaces. I'm just curious if that's a consideration, or,
We're able to make the site work without changing the curb cut.
okay,
It would be, as you know, we'd have to go back because it's a state highway. We'd have to go back through the state and comply with DOT standards. Not a big deal. And if it's a requirement of this request by the board here, we would comply, but don't think it's necessary.
all right. That makes sense. Anybody else concerned about the maneuvering coming in the curb cut, or we're fine? Awkward but manageable? It's a Did you say story of your life? Yeah. It's a big change so if we agree that it's manageable, then we could leave it alone. If it's a problem, then it's something to talk about now and let them address between now and the next meeting.
Excuse me, Nick. There are a couple of pylons are out in front, and those are to be removed.
Okay. Not big enough deal to mess with. Okay. All right, sounds good. All right, any other questions, concerns, comments? Chris?
Yeah, also for the applicant, again, scrolling back up to the staff report here. I'm just gonna read this aloud, and if Tito wants to chime in, I'll allow him. Quote, the orientation of the building towards Main Street would better comply with the goals of the comprehensive plan. Staff recommends a pedestrian entrance with sidewalk access be installed on the building facing Main Street. So I guess maybe the first thing is, can you talk about the decision to orient the building facade towards the gas pumps and the east end of the property and not north towards Main Street?
Our thought was that's the desired alignment of the front of the building facing the pumps, because that's where the action's going to be. People are going to be coming in and getting gas, parking on that side. So we provide the entrance on that side. That makes the most sense for people coming in to the property. I recognize that comment as the desire to put some kind of entrance on the front to make it look like a front facing property. And the way I propose that is handled is retain the entrance where it is, but put signage on the front, because there's a lot of glass on that side. We will be putting glass around that side, so people will be oriented. You'll see the sign on both the front of the building and on the left-hand side. And that's our proposal. Actually, you're going to see walk-in traffic. Yeah, because you're in a built-up area, but there's nothing to prevent them from coming in by leaving the orientation of the building as it's shown now.
Oh, love to hear the planning department's thoughts on this building orientation issue.
Yeah, the primary facade of the building ideally would be facing Main Street. It's a main commercial corridor. We have a form-based code for Main Street that was part of the comprehensive plan, where if this building were to be constructed new, that primary entrance would have to be on the front of the building. It's an existing building though, so they have options. Again, that's the preference. They did sort of move the needle in the right direction by increasing the size of the storefront facing Main Street. But still, the primary facade of the building is facing a parking lot off to the side, which is more of a suburban style of development. And it's the position of the planning department and the comprehensive plan that suburban type development is not appropriate for Main Street.
May I ask if there were a smaller entrance along with the entrance that's facing in on the front of the building? Would that accommodate that?
That gets it closer, yeah.
Do you think that you'd be able to accommodate that?
Perhaps I'll talk to my client about that. Now, not to get too particular at this point, but if we provided the main entrance to both the left and to the front in that front left corner, would that be acceptable? If you remember the orientation, the front faces north. It would be to the left corner as you face the building. So that corner becomes the main entrance, both from the street and from the parking and from the gas stations. It's a matter of control of clients watching the pumps, watching pedestrians coming in, and as opposed to sticking the main entrance way to the center of the building or way to the other side.
Are you referring to like the larger striped area closer to the road, like that corner, putting the door? Is that what you're?
On the, if you look at the building, to the left corner, front left corner.
Yeah, it's up to the commission, but that sounds
Mhm.
like an even better proposal, yeah.
Now on the north facing side on that corner, there's just a large area of pavement that isn't used for parking, it looks like from the plans, but it's also doesn't really have sidewalk. Would it make sense to just extend that sidewalk around and it, so it wouldn't be just a kind of a random patch of parking lot? It looks like it might be used for parking, even though it's not a designated parking space. I could see someone just kind of pulling in there.
Right, so are you, I want to make sure I understand what you're suggesting or asking. You're talking like I know the area is paved now. And there
Right.
is an existing sidewalk from you can see it on the plan to the right there. I don't know why it's there, except there might have been a previous change to it, but.
Right. And in an effort to, make a more presentable facade, would it make sense to extend that, especially if you're putting the entrance on that corner? Just wrap it around.
Yes, it makes sense. Thank you. That's a good point.
Is that gonna have an issue though with where the curb cut is?
I don't think so.
Good thing to look at between this meeting and next meeting though, right?
Okay, we will look at that and we'll discuss the entrance, revise the plan to reflect that for the next meeting. Is that okay? And extend the
Yes.
sidewalk.
All right. Sounds good. I'm just reading through the last comments from the planning department. All right, so they did note that along the buffer of Main Street, so you've got Main Street, then you've got the sidewalk, then you've paved right up to the sidewalk, and it is missing a landscape buffer between the sidewalk and the beginning of your pavement for your drive that goes to the islands. Would it be possible to bring that island or that landscape buffer back between the sidewalk and where the pavement starts to go to your fuel islands?
You mean on the front of the building?
Yeah, on the front side, yeah.
It would be, I can talk to Tony about
Okay.
it, but yeah, we could probably
right.
consider doing that. it would be the same as existing. We can talk about the details.
It's kind of similar to what CVS did just down the street. They've got sidewalk, then a landscape buffer, and then their drive aisles. It just helps define the sidewalk. So another thing to look at between now and the next meeting.
Nick,
Uh,
just want to add,
Tito.
not doing that would require a variance. So that section of landscaping is required.
So extending the existing landscaping from the end of it, the front landscaping runs from the right corner, but extend it to the left corner of the building.
Or are you talking about the far end by the pumps?
I think you're talking about east of the curb cut.
Yes, so all the way from, sorry, the plan's upside down, so it's so yes, so from the east property line to the curb cut, you would need a landscape buffer between your sidewalk and your pavement that's going up to your fuel islands. And then technically, I guess, from the curb cut west over to meet the existing landscape island that you have already, you would need to connect that as well with a buffer along the front, basically all the way along the front along Main Street where it's not pavement going into your property, needs to have a landscape buffer in order to avoid a variance.
Okay,
And Tito can clarify on the phone tomorrow if it would be easier. He might even be able to sketch something out for you.
There's a fee for that.
There's a fee for that, right?
I didn't say that. I did not say that.
All right. Any other questions, concerns? All right. Oh, wait, are you planning to put a statue of Andy Schumann in, because he was there for so long, in honor of him and stuff?
well, we had considered it,
Doesn't have to be huge.
and if it pleases the board,
All right, not a requirement, but a recommendation, maybe? All right. All right, if there's no other questions or comments, I'll make a motion that the proposal involves the establishment of a vehicle fuel station, which is an unlisted action according to seeker, and that the planning board should be the lead agency for review. Seconded by Chris, all in favor? All right, 7 in favor, 0 opposed. And I'll make a motion to schedule a public hearing at our December meeting for 5:30. Seconded by Kyle, all in favor? All right, 7 in favor, 0 opposed. All right, we'll see you back in December.
thank you.
Thank you. All right, on to our next portion of the meeting. Public hearings and final deliberations. In this portion of our meeting, we will be holding open public hearings to obtain public opinion in regard to specific projects that are up for review. Applicants will be asked to come to the microphone and make a brief presentation describing their project. For most projects, this is the second time we were reviewing your information, so it would be very helpful if you could please give us a brief overview of the project to remind us what you're planning, and then clearly identify any changes that have been made since the last time we saw you. When the applicant is done presenting and any clarifications have been reviewed, we will open the public hearing and allow members of the community to speak about the applicant's proposal. After the commission has heard from all community members interested in speaking tonight, the public hearing will be closed and the commission will deliberate. To our applicants, when your project name is called, please come to the microphone and start off by giving the name and address of any member of the applicant's team that's planning to speak. And to anyone from the community that will be speaking in regard to a project tonight, please also start off by stating your name and address for our records. For anyone unfamiliar with the format of a public hearing, we'll be opening the microphone to solicit public comment about specific projects that are up for review tonight. Public comments should be directed towards the members of the Planning Commission and staff and not directed towards the applicant. It is not acceptable for any member of the public to enter into any form of discussion with the applicant during the public meeting. The commission members will take note of any specific questions or comments that come up during the public comment portion of the meeting. And when there are no additional community members wishing to speak about the project, the public hearing portion of the meeting will be closed and the applicant will be given a chance to respond. The commission members will ask the applicant to comment on any questions that were brought up by the community if they are relevant to our site plan review. It will again not be acceptable for any member of the public to attempt to enter into a dialogue with the applicant while they are responding to questions or comments that arose during the public hearing. The time for us to hear from the public will be while the public hearing is open. Once it is closed, the public is here as an audience to the proceedings. Any member of the public who cannot abide by these rules will be asked to leave. All right, due to the large number of community members who appear to be here to speak tonight for projects, we're asking that everyone please limit your comments to 5 minutes. All right. Tonight, our first public hearing is for the applicant FGR Realty LLC. The project address is 188 Court Street. This is a site plan review and special use permit for the demolition of an existing structure and construction of an ancillary parking lot in the C1 Service Commercial District. Welcome back.
Hi, Sarah Campbell again with him and Howard and Catala, principal of FGR, Philip Akel, and Chris Lynch from Delta Engineering is passing out some photos for you or photo mock-ups for you. Just like to correct the agenda. So really, this is a site plan. There is no special permit required for construction of an ancillary parking lot. There's been no changes since our last meeting, other than you may have received a detailed landscaping plan, which I believe you did. Also, since your last meeting, we obtained, I think at the last meeting, we had already obtained COD approval to demolish the structure. And we have since then obtained an area variance for landscaping as submitted. We've also submitted an urban runoff reduction plan that was submitted in July. And just a quick recap, this is a there will be a demolition of a structure that's already been approved. This is an area near or right next to St. Mary's Church. It's a campus-like parking area, which is shared by both St. Mary's Church, 188 and 184 Court Street, which the applicant owns. With these modifications, we will also be removing a curb cut on Court Street. There is currently a a curb cut between 184 and 88. That will be removed. We'll be combining the parcels, adding 4 new landscaping beds, which result in more pervious surface than presently. This plan supports section 41051D of the regulations, encouraging multiple uses. Cross access is encouraged to adjacent non-residential properties for convenience, safety, and efficient circulation of more vehicles. The plan really, if you look at the plan, the rendering really dresses up the whole corner and provides safe, cooperative access to the site. With respect to your site plan criteria, public safety and movement of people and vehicles is enhanced by this plan. There is an increase in off-street parking. It adds landscaping where it makes the most sense and eliminates landscaping where it would impede the cooperative parking and safe pedestrian movements. And other than that, there have been no changes.
Are you saying that it doesn't need a special use permit because it's not ancillary because you're combining the lots?
Yes.
Okay. So then, it doesn't require a special use permit in that case, but any vote should be contingent on the lots being combined.
All right. Any questions before we open the public hearing? All right. All right, we'll have you take a seat off to the side for just a second. All right, so this is the public hearing for the applicant FGR Realty LLC, and the project address is 188 Court Street. This is site plan review for the demolition of an existing structure and construction of an ancillary parking lot in the C1 Service Commercial District. If there's anyone who is here tonight to speak about the project, please come to the microphone.
Good evening. I'm Nate Hotchkiss. I live at 21 Frederick Street, and I am the city council representative for District 4. I know this project has been going through the different boards and commissions, and it's kind of been a little bit difficult to follow, but in general, I think I'm opposed to the demolition of the structure, specifically because the intent is just to create more parking. I think this is generally aligned with urban renewal practices that have been frowned upon and have had negative consequences for cities. And I don't think we should continue to kind of follow those policies that have already been identified as being negative. The other thing I think this does and continues to do is it induces demand for parking and vehicle transportation. So when we add more parking, there's more demand for parking because more people are only seeking vehicle transportation and not public transit, walking, biking, even electric scooters or any other ulterior form of transportation. So I think this is a kind of a self-defeating cycle that we're in Binghamton, where we create more parking, which makes us need more parking, and we really need more buildings for housing, for businesses, and so this doesn't really achieve that. Other thing I wanted to mention is I know you guys approved the majority of you voted in favor of zoning regulations that would reduce parking requirements and eliminate parking requirements for affordable and senior housing. We haven't approved those yet on city council, but I think we will. There's not really much argument to that. And I think that's really a step in the right direction to eliminate parking requirements for new developments or new properties, and also reduce some of the existing parking that exists in those spaces so that we have room to build. I think that's a huge priority for the city. And this proposal is working in the opposite direction of that. So I think, thank you for the majority of you who are in favor of reducing parking requirements. I think that's essential to really addressing some of our transportation transportation issues as well as housing issues. So thank you for that. But I think if you're going to be in favor of that legislation, I don't know how you can be in favor of this proposal. I think there's enough adequate parking there. In my mind, I know I'm not a regular user of the site or the surrounding buildings, but I don't think you can really, it doesn't seem justified to remove that building just for a handful of parking spaces. And I'm less familiar with like the historic nature of the property. I know it's an extremely old building, and we have continually seen our housing. Well, this isn't housing, but just the older buildings been reduced over time, and I don't think there's been enough effort to preserve them. So that's the one other thing I'd like to mention. So I'm opposed. That's all.
All right. Thank you. All right. Anybody else for the 188 Court Street project?
My name's Francie Cook. I live at 9 Midwood Drive in Binghamton. I'm a realtor, have been for 27 years. I have no skin in the game about 188 Court Street whatsoever. I'm here to speak in favor of the demolition and the change. Reason being, the building was on the market for several months. To turn around and try and utilize it, like, I appreciate that we need housing. Trust me, I know. We've competitive offers on almost anything that goes out there. You can't turn that structure into something plausible for commercial with ADA compliance, and you can't really turn around and utilize it for housing. It's just not set up for it. It would be lovely if during the demolition process, the owners would take out all of the chestnut trim. I've been in the building several times, used to see Ed Lyons in there for real estate deals. You know, the handrails that are in there are only 30 inches high. The spindles are 28 inches high. The doors could be utilized in some of these other neighborhoods. The materials could be utilized in houses that had been converted from the 1885 specials that they were to multifamily housing that happened after World War II when the GIs came back and needed living. So many buildings could utilize the materials from that structure. That would be a win-win. And to have the additional parking there helps the commerce side of things. You know, it brings more people in. It makes the building and the use of the building as commercial. To have the additional parking makes it more feasible and more doable. So I would love to see that happen. I don't see any reason why it should be preserved. We have hundreds of houses that are identical to this house throughout the city. They're on the east side, they're on the west side, First Ward, south side. They're everywhere. There's no reason to keep it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody else that'd like to speak about 188 Court Street?
We did get a letter in opposition from John Darrow, which was uploaded to Basecamp. I think, did everybody get a chance to read that?
All right, just to be safe, we're going to read this one in. This is from Darrow44@AOL.com. Dear Planning Commissioners, I'm not supportive of the plan to demolish the home at 188 Court Street in Binghamton. This is a fine building with great architectural highlights, stained and etched glass, 3 fireplaces, and beautiful woodwork throughout. It is a significant structure as it's the last remaining residential house on the Court Street side of the block. This was a neighborhood, as was the block across the street, which maintains only one of the original residences, the Phelps Mansion. All of the others have been torn down. My commissioners, many new and inexperienced, fell prey to veiled threats of deterioration, dilapidation, and vandalism. This home, if saved, could benefit from its proximity to the VA, possibly in a capacity similar to Daniel's house for the families of recovery veterans. Respectfully yours, John C. Darrow, Board of Directors, Preservation Association of the Southern Tier. All right. All right. Anybody else want to speak about 188 Court Street? All right. Seeing nobody else approaching the microphone, we'll close the public hearing. All right. Your chance to respond if you'd like.
Thank you. With all due respect to Councilman Hotchkiss, the demolition of the structure is not before the Planning Commission tonight. Demolition of the structure is the jurisdiction of COD. COD has already made their determination granting that, subject to the variance relief that we required and site plan approval for the parking lot, which is properly before this board. We spent 4 months perhaps with COD, with evidence beyond what you have been provided. And the determination by COD was to allow the demolition. Mr. Darrow was unhappy with that determination, but that was the determination. So again, the process is what the process is. We've been to COD, we've been to the ZBA, we've been to you. And so really tonight, the topic is not, however, just to note, the applicant has and continues to offer the opportunity to pass, should you grant this approval to tonight, to come in and remove whatever they choose to remove from the structure.
All right. Any other questions? Chris?
Yeah, I I want to speak on the record for a moment about the communication from Mr. Darrow. A couple of months ago, we here at the Planning Commission spoke out loudly about the importance of the independence of these boards. We're an independent board. COD is an independent board. COD made a determination. We should be respecting that determination by COD as an independent board. We don't want any other groups trying to influence what we do as an independent board of this city. And I think we should also respect that determination by COD that was made, but looking at the minutes back in June. That's all. That's my comment.
All right. Excellent. Kyle?
I just want to understand procedurally. So are we to treat this as an empty site? Our vote doesn't change whether it's demolished or not, regardless of the way we vote.
It's a little sort of grayer than that. The commission does not approve or deny demolitions per se. You can, I mean, you are issuing a decision on the development of this site though, and the removal of that building is part of the changes to the site. So it's something that you can consider overall as part of site plan review. But saying yes or no to the demo, you're not charged with that. You're just looking at overall, what are the changes to this site? Are they compatible with the comprehensive plan? Will they have any negative potential impacts on the surrounding area in terms of traffic and the environment, et cetera?
Okay, just want to make sure we were weighing it appropriately and considering it with the determination from another board like Chris mentioned. So thank you.
Yeah. Technically, could the applicant have gone through the COD process for the demolition permit, torn down the building, and then applied to the planning commission? And we wouldn't have even known the building had been torn down?
Yes.
All right.
Good question.
All right. Any other questions or concerns? Kelly?
I'm going to say something that probably won't be favorable, but I just would like us to not have it held over that a vote is something going against something we've already agreed on to try to work with a comprehensive plan. I don't think if any of us is going forward with this means we are going against a plan for the city. And I don't think that's a good, I don't think that's good to set precedent to, Nate. I appreciate your comments, but we are all trying to do something to help the city in general. We're not going against some of these plans. So to do something is within our rights. So it's just my 2 cents.
All right. Fair enough. Yeah. All right. Seeing no other questions or comments, I'm going to make a motion that the applicant's proposal is deserves a negative declaration for seeker review based on the following. Will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulations? No or small impact. Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land? Small impact. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? Small impact. Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area? No. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkways? No or small impact. Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy? No. Will the proposed action impact existing public or private water supplies or public or private wastewater treatment utilities? No. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? No or small impact. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources? No. Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? No or small impact. And will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health? No. So based on those items, I'll make a motion for a negative declaration for seeker. All right, seconded by Chris. All in favor? All right, that's 7 in favor, 0 opposed. And I'll make a motion that the requirements for site plan review have been met, contingent on the lots being combined. All right, seconded by Chris. All in favor? Mario, are you in favor? All right, 7 in favor, 0 opposed. All right, thank you. All right, our next seeker determination tonight is for the applicant Benjamin Locke. The project address is 115 Murray Street. This is a site plan review and special use permit for the conversion of an existing building into a 6-unit dwelling in the C1 Service Commercial District.
Hello, good evening. So just to recap from last month's meeting, this building is currently a commercially zoned building. It's 2 stories. My plan is to convert it into 6 residential apartments, 3 units on the first floor, 3 units on the second floor. A few items that came up from the meeting last month was a garbage enclosure the planning commission was asking for, a privacy fence, along with a landscape buffer. So that's a recap from last month. Do you now want me to go into what the modifications were?
Yes, did we get updated plans from you?
Yes. I sent them to Shaylin.
Okay.
And I have a copy of them if anybody wants to see a physical copy.
And upload it quickly to Basecamp.
All
Okay.
right.
Can you pass that around in the meantime?
Yeah, sure. It's kind of small, but
Do
you
you-
can,
Do you need it to think about?
I
while
have
you're-
2 copies, don't worry.
All right.
Who would like to see it?
Just, yeah.
Okay, I'll give everyone, 30 seconds to look at it and then I'll proceed. Yeah, it is pretty small. I apologize. I mean, maybe it makes more sense to explain it as people are looking at it.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first item to note is the garbage enclosure. So on the eastern side of the building is highlighted in blue. We made room for a garbage enclosure with to fit 3 large garbage totes. So that's point number 1. It's really not going to be seen by any, just to note also, this building is kind of tucked away. Whoever has not seen it before, if you're coming down Murray Street, it's a one way road. It's behind the Speedway gas station. So the building is also being blocked by another structure. So the garbage enclosure, you wouldn't even be able to see. So it's not going to be an eyesore or anything like that. The second point was a privacy fence along the western and eastern portions of the property line. And the updated site plan that's being passed around does incorporate that privacy fence. To note also, along with the privacy fence, the planning commission requested or is requiring a 5-foot landscape buffer. And the updated plans call for arborvitae trees with spacing about 5 feet apart from each other, along with the shade tree commission did recommend some Virginia creeper vines along that privacy fence to add some beautiful colors in the fall. So those were the 3 points that were brought up last meeting. That's pretty much it. It's a 2-story building, pretty small relatively to other projects. That's pretty much it.
All right, thank you. And Tito says it's been uploaded to Basecamp, so. All right, any questions or comments before we open the public hearing? Concerns? All right, so seeing none, if you take a seat for a second. All right, so this is the public hearing for the applicant Benjamin Locke. The project address is 115 Murray Street. This is a site plan review and special use permit for the conversion of an existing building into a 6-unit dwelling in the C1 Service Commercial District. Anybody who would like to speak about the project, please come to the microphone.
We didn't get any letters, for the record.
All right.
We did get it's me up here. We did get a call in opposition of the project from a neighbor, concerned about occupancy limit and parking spaces availability. I told her that, you know, we don't have anything in the zoning code, regarding occupancy limits. And we can't make an assumption that, you know, people are gonna stack 2, 3, 4 people for a dwelling unit. But those were her concerns.
All right. Thank you. All right. Seeing nobody else approaching the microphone, we'll close the public hearing. We come back up. All right, not much to respond to for that one.
I was going to say no news is good news sometimes, but we had one comment which I will briefly address.
Yeah.
I failed to mention a few minutes ago that these dwelling units are going to be studio apartments. So at most, you know, people will have one car, and the parking requirements are already, you know, hit. So we even had to take out 1 or 2 spots for the landscaping buffer, and we still have enough parking spots. So parking really should not be an issue at all.
All right. All right. Well, seeing no other questions or comments. We determined in the last meeting that this was a type 2 action for seeker because it involves a reuse of an existing commercial building, so no further environmental review is required. So I'll make a motion that the requirements for site plan review and special use permit have been met. All right, second by Chris, all in favor? All right, that's 7 in favor, 0 opposed. All right.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, good luck. All right, our next public hearing tonight is for the applicant Campus Life and Style. Project address is 20 Holly Street. This is a site plan modification review to reconfigure the waste management plan for an existing mixed-use building in the C2 Downtown Business District.
Good evening. I'm Kenneth Gay. I'm a senior architect at Keystone Associates at 58 Exchange Street. I'll make a presentation because we did make some modifications based on some of your recommendations at our last meeting that Mark Parker from our office was at. There was a concern last time regarding the location of the dumpsters and the fence to access those dumpsters. We've kept the dumpsters in the same location. We've just rotated the access gate so that it was the full width of the curb cut that going into the dumpsters and will provide a more straight on access to those dumpsters. The way the building is configured, because you drive in kind of under the building, you'll still have to back out to lift the dumpsters and access them. So we'll be able to go straight in, back straight out, lift, dump, and go back in. The 3-foot exit pedestrian gate, we've moved the location of that, so it was more out directly to the sidewalk, and that's required because there is an exit door from the building into this area, so we have to provide exiting out of that area there. We have, as noted, we'll have 2 8-foot wide gates to access that 16-foot wide driving lane into the dumpster area. We also will be matching the ornamental fencing that's on the building right now, so we can have matching fencing there. And we also have taken all the dumpsters off of the Washington Street area and raised that pavement area on the Washington, which was a suggestion at the last time.
All right. Fantastic. Any questions, concerns before we open the public hearing? All right, take a seat. All right, so this is the public hearing for the applicant Campus Life and Style. Project address is 20 Holly Street. This is a site plan modification review to reconfigure the waste management plan for an existing mixed-use building in the C2 Downtown Business District. If there's anybody that would like to speak about this project, please come to the microphone.
We did not get written comments.
All right.
Did get 239 comments though.
All right. Well, seeing nobody approaching the microphone, we'll close the public hearing. Just for the record, we did get 239 comments from the county, and they are, actually, did you get a chance to look at those or?
Yeah, I received them.
Okay. So a small portion of the project tax map is located within a preliminary FEMA special flood hazard area. Applicant should be aware of that.
Yep, we can't change that.
All right. The EAF should address and show compliance with the DPW comments and include the Court Street Historic District and the historic response. And the site plan should show compliance with the DPW comments, show the design and specifications for the ornamental fence and gate, and ensure appropriate dumpster covers and no impediment to emergency access.
We'll provide that.
All right. All right. Any other questions, concerns about moving the dumpsters? All right. All right, it looks like we determined that this was a unlisted action for seeker at the last meeting, so I'll make a motion for a negative declaration for seeker review based on the following. Will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulation? No. Will the proposed action result in the change in the use or intensity use of land? No. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? No. Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area? No. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkways? No. Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities? No. Will the proposed action impact existing public or private water supplies or public or private wastewater treatment utilities? No. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources? No. Will the proposed action result in an adverse change to natural resources? No. Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? No. And will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health? No. So based on those, I'll make a motion for a negative declaration. Seconded by Kyle, all in favor? All right, that's 7 in favor, 0 opposed. And based on that, I'll make a motion that the requirements for site plan modification have been met. Seconded by Kyle again, all in favor? All right, 7 in favor, 0 opposed. All right, thank you. All right. All right. Since it's been a while since we started the public hearing portion, I'm just going to remind everybody that it's not okay to start talking or get into an argument with the applicant tonight. If you want to comment, make any comments about the project, which I assume everybody is here for, please direct them to us. We will take note of any comments that are relevant because there may be a lot of comments, some comments that are not relevant to something that we actually have any authority to review. Which often happens. So we will only review comments with the applicant that are actually applicable to our site plan review and what we're here to do. All right, so this is the public hearing for the applicant Addiction Center of Broome County. Project address is 15 Charles Street, and this is a site plan review and special use permit for the conversion of an existing building into a social services facility with a 15,750 square foot outpatient clinic and 80 administrative offices in the I-1 Urban Business Park. Welcome back.
I think I should get a hat trick tonight, right? Throw your hat. Nick.
Yeah.
Sarah Campbell with him and Howard and Cattell representing the applicant. Have here with me tonight, Carmela Perenich, who's the executive Director of ACBC, and also Ken from Keystone. One down there. As the chairperson indicated, this is an application for social service use in a 63,000 square foot building located in the urban business park. ACBC has been in the business for over 50 years and is a vital part of our community. This building is set up into different floors. The first floor, again, will be about 16,000 square feet of an outpatient clinic with 41 clinical offices, 12 group therapy rooms, and 4 exam rooms. There are separate entrances for adults and adolescents. Separate waiting rooms for adults and adolescents, and a couple storage rooms and a kitchen. The second floor will house 77 plus or minus care manager offices. Those are generally non-client facing. A new bathroom, a gym, yoga, and shower is the odd thing on the plan that nobody could read. Records storage, 2 conference rooms, and also a kitchen. The third floor is was in the past 5 apartments. Apparently it's been rented out for years. There are currently no tenants. Those people have been removed, and ACBC does not plan to use it for residential use at this time. They do at some point, perhaps will come back to the board for transitional living opportunities, but that's so far in the future in terms of funding to not even be on the table at this point. Also, there will be some office storage and laundry in the basement. The facility will be open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. There are 44 people working in the building right now. After renovations, they anticipate a total of 140 employees. There is more than sufficient parking there are 2 actual addresses for the parking lot. They're separated. 15 Charles and 23 Charles. There are 140 spaces. By calculation, we would be required to provide 126 parking spaces. ACBC is licensed, or the program is licensed by OASIS, was the Office of Addiction and Support Services. That's a New York State office. And the vast majority of services are assessment and referral, individual, group, and family counseling, and certified recovery peer advocacy. This is a much needed service in the community. This is a use permitted. Social service use is permitted in the urban business park, subject to any reasonable conditions. I think we talked about the site plan at our last meeting. I know that you have a revised plan. There isn't we're not doing a lot of work on the building itself. It's in pretty decent shape. There will be new energy efficient windows placed in the building. Carmela secured quite a nice grant for that rehabilitation. The parking lot will be restriped. There was some comment about landscaping on the lot. We were a little unsure where you would want that, but there already is landscaping on the north. And there's a fence also on the north property line, which is where it would come into contact with any residential use. But remember, that is very far from the building itself. It's sort of an odd site plan because it's separated by another property. And so that's quite a distance away. We're, of course, here to answer any questions that you might have. Thank you.
All right. Any questions before we begin the public hearing? All right. So I have you take a seat off to the side. So just a reminder, anybody who would like to speak, please state your name and address for our records. All right, so this is the public hearing for the applicant Addiction Center of Broome County. The project address is 15 Charles Street. So this is a site plan review and special use permit for the conversion of an existing building into social services facility with a 15,750 square foot outpatient clinic and 80 administrative offices in the I-1 Urban Business Park. Greg is going to be timing and everybody's going to be given 5 minutes. He'll give you a 1-minute warning and then it'll ding and we're going to ask you to wrap things up within a few seconds of after his cell phone dings. Please, please let us go home at a decent hour tonight, please.
Now it's on?
Perfect, thank you.
Well, somebody.
And your name and address for our records, please.
I'm Mr. Cacciadorian. I live on Charles Street, about a block from where this is going to go. But I own quite a few properties in the area that this is going to affect, this project. I'm very upset that this meeting was not postponed on the night of the election, a national election, and it should have been postponed. I can't get over that. I just couldn't believe it. How could you hold a meeting like this during a national election? It doesn't even make any sense. There's people that would have been here tonight other than obligations to other things they had to get to go to. I mean, this is ridiculous. And it should be postponed just for that reason. And this should be postponed on that premise. Now, I have issues with this project. I've talked to the director and I just don't feel comfortable with it. It just seems that there's too much affecting the residential area around it and businesses as well. And I just got a bad feeling that it's going to go the wrong way. And first of all, last I knew, the fire department was not approving it for the simple fact that some of the windows were not the right sizes for the basement for some of the bedding that was going to be used in the basement area if that was going to happen. There are other issues along with that. Maybe Greg can address them. I don't know, but I've heard from the fire department that they were not very happy about the plans for this building. I'd like to get this meeting held over for this project because there's people that would have been here this evening that are opposing it. And obviously we see behind us, or I was in the back and it was in front of me, that the audience is loaded for the project. So for the reason that I brought up, I wish you would postpone this meeting for those reasons.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else who would like to speak about the project?
Good evening. Rachel Hendricks, 43 Charles Street. I've got a lot of questions. I mean, I've got can everybody hear me? I've got a lot of questions. I was here for several of the meetings before. My first question is, why was this not included in the other special use meetings? Why was this not all done at once? Why was this broken up the way that it was? I feel like there's a lot of business owners and residents that were here for the other previous meetings that feel slighted because this is being dragged out and broken up into bits and pieces when it all could have been done at once. I feel a lot of people are going to have the same exact things to say tonight that they had to say last fall when we were all here. So I'm going to save you a lot of the rambling because you're going to hear it from everybody behind me anyways. 15 Charles Street's located within 1 mile of an elementary school. A significant concern. Addiction services being that close to a school can create an environment that's not conducive to the safety and well-being of young students. Children walking to and from school should be in a secure atmosphere, free from the potential influence of individuals struggling with addiction. It's essential to prioritize the safety and security of our children who are vulnerable and impressionable. I want to say, before I continue speaking, that I'm a graduate of Broome Community College's Chemical Dependency Counseling Program with my case actee. I've done several internships locally with New Horizons. I've also done internships out of town in Tully, New York, as well as other areas. So I have a good understanding of what's going on. That being said, I have ran outpatient meetings. I've done inpatient meetings. I've done methadone clinic. I've kind of been everywhere. I've done 12-step meetings. There's a lot that goes on that the general public does not see. There are a lot of drug deals that go on prior to and after meetings. There's a lot of things that go on in parking lots. It's not black and white like everybody wants to think that it is. It's just not. I work at a business in the city of Binghamton, and I had a client come in a couple weeks ago who disclosed to me that she was actually an employee of ACBC. And she proceeded to tell me that the employees of ACBC are oftentimes worse than the clients. And that is verbatim, word for word from her mouth. She also told me that they have constant phone calls to the authorities. There are incidents where there's theft involved. There are fights that break out. I don't understand how this is even plausible for this area. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that we're all sitting here again and having this discussion. I don't think it's appropriate. I think that there are better suited locations. We have First Ward Park, 3 blocks down the street. You have the Boys and Girls Club a couple blocks down Clinton Street. There's children, there's residents, there's houses everywhere, not to mention the businesses that have invested millions into their properties to better the appearance of our area. And we're going to move this in, and it's going to increase crime rates. It's going to increase property damage. I just don't think it's smart. BPD's already down 30-something officers. Where's the funding going to come from for additional resources when constant calls are being made? Where's the manpower for it? I don't think it's there. I don't think that there's the stability for this. I also have questions about the company that's moving into the old Anatech location. Do they know about this proposal? We're talking about 40 positions starting with Firamar. You have 70-something offices alone for ACBC. The old DMV site's being turned into apartment housing. Where are all these people going to park? We're not even talking about clients. We're just talking about employees at these places. Where are these people going to park? Because then you're going to start taking away from Charles Street's already one side of the street parking. So now we're going to start taking away parking from residents that live in the area because the clients or whoever else is going to be parking on Charles Street. There's not enough room for this. I don't think it's smart. I'm firmly opposed. I'll be at every meeting in the future. And on another note, I don't think it's fair that ACBC's packing the house with people that have vested interest. They're here because they're employees. I just don't agree with it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
My name is Penny Stringfield. My address is 46 Bennett Avenue, Binghamton. I am not an employee of ACBC. I am a concerned community member. I don't think that any person in this room has not either experienced themselves or does not know someone who has experienced the difficulty of finding help and services for people with both substance use disorders and mental health disorders. I believe that ACBC having been in this community for over 50 years, has a good handle on what it is that we need, and we desperately need this in our community. As far as safety and what's going to happen in the neighborhood, I have done the marketing for Mothers and Babies for decades, which was across the parking lot from ACBC. There was never a single time that I felt unsafe when I went into that building. I believe that there are definitely protocols in place for ACBC to be sure that this is a secure, safe environment, both for their employees, the people they're serving, and the neighborhood. I understand fear about anything new coming, and especially something as large as this. But when I talk to parents who have to travel an hour and a half for their adolescents to have any kind of mental health care, we have to do better. And this is a building that's prepared to do this, with people that are prepared to do this. If you drive down Clinton Street or walk down Clinton Street, there are many people that you might be a little bit afraid of. Those people are going to be cared for more than if they are just in an alley or in a doorway. I know that ACBC has worked very hard. I know that the initial proposal, I was not part of that, is something that they have backed away from because they have such a commitment to this piece. And I really hope that the Planning Commission can see that we really need this. And I think that this is a perfect area to do it. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
How you guys doing today? My name is Christopher Scott. I live at 4 Clifford Street in the city of Binghamton. I won't take up too much time, but I do want to address the issue about the crime and how it's going to be affected with this project. And I did hear the lady speaking earlier about all the fights and stuff, and that sounded more like bars, like, you know, like the Union or any of the other bars that are on Clinton Street. And I did a quick FOIA request for how much crime is actually going on Clinton Street and where it comes from. And it's interesting that the bars on Clinton Street are a proponent of most of the reports, police reports on Clinton Street. And I also I pulled the report for 42 Shenango Street, which is where where we ended up putting the warming station. And it's interesting because the reports are similar, right? Like there's 200 police calls out to the warming station, and there's 188 to the Union Bar. And I just say that because I think that we're getting caught up on how much crime is going to be brought to the neighborhood. And I think that crime is everywhere. It doesn't matter. It's Binghamton. We're 5th in the state in crime. So it doesn't really, I don't think there's a place in Binghamton where crime isn't happening. But what I do think that I believe that this project could reduce the crime in that neighborhood. I really do. And I think it could be an economic boom. You're talking about a project that's going to have over 100 employees. They're going to want to go shop. They're going to want to eat. They're going to bring more economic growth to the community than any hardships. And the truth is that this is needed. You know, without these places, then the city of Binghamton would be in a far worse position. And it's sad. I understand the opposition. I understand why they feel that the way they do, because 10 years ago, I probably would have felt the same way. And like the young lady, I also have a case XT. And I also run outpatient services. I do groups and all those other things. And I think that no matter where you're at, people who are using substances are going to do things that the outside world is not going to be okay with. That's just what it is, right? And that's why we're here. We're trying to prevent that. We're trying to provide a safe space for thousands of people that come through Binghamton that need it because there's nowhere for them to go. Right. And this is what we're doing. This is not a place where there's not trained professionals, right? There's trained professionals. And I would ask that lady to put that ACBC's worker's name on record. That's what I would say, because I worked there also. And I can tell you from my experience, I don't know anybody who will tell her that. And if someone did, that she should put it on record, honestly. But moving besides that, I don't want to get hooked up on the crime, because I think that's what's going to be the opposition's most, you know, their sticking point is like the crime. But again, man, like crime is there, right? We're trying to get this project passed so that we could reduce the crime in the neighborhood, provide safe spaces for people who need these services. They need these services, you know, and I think that we have a misconception, or it seems to be like, that everybody who's using substances is just going to break into cars and do all this criminal activity. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen, because let's be realistic. Some of that will happen, and some of that does happen with people who use substances, right? But if we just say we can't put this place up, we can't put any of these places anywhere in the city because it's going to make somebody else's neighborhood bad, where are we going to put it, right? We could put it in the north side of Binghamton because no one cares about the north side. I mean, I don't think that's true, but my point is this: it's got to go somewhere, right? And I feel for the people who don't want it there because it's where they live. Where I live, they put up projects all the time. You know what I mean? And me personally, I'm like, hey, if it's gonna better the community, then I'm all for it, right? I'm all for it. So I don't want to take up too much time, but I do wanted to address the crime thing and kind of take that off the table because it's not really relevant. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Microphone to take, I'll take the one Chris had. Hi, Maisha Marzell, 2345 Geneva Street, Binghamton, New York. A transplant from Oakland, California, here 8 years. So, yes, gosh, I don't want to disparage my city and say no crime. So I appreciated what Chris was saying, but crime is everywhere. But I do want to talk about, I think he did an excellent job in talking about that, but I too, I'm a professor at Binghamton University. I'm in the public health department, and so substance use and addiction has been something that I've been committed to in terms of the prevention for the past 20 years of my life. Recently, I'm at SUNY Broome. I'm getting my CASAC, so shout out to the other person who is had done that. I heard her mention Tully. I'm currently doing my internship there. And it's been a wonderful experience on the treatment side of addiction. I understand that addiction, it doesn't discriminate, right? And so it's interesting when I hear this, and it kind of baffles me that we think that it's going to be a certain kind of people in our neighborhoods. DWIs come in at Tully, they come in all shapes and forms. And so when we have these types of treatment places, and the work that ACBC does, and in all disclosure, I was on the board when I first moved here 8 years ago, and the work and the commitment that goes, and no, it's not perfect, but the work that goes into making sure that Binghamton is going to be a place where all of us can get the treatment that we need. Our families, our young people can have prevention efforts that happen. I truly believe in ACBC. I understand the concerns about 12 Charles Street and the neighborhood. I love the Union. I visit the Union. They have the best wings. But I just know, coming from a place, I lived in Washington, D.C. I've lived all over this country, and I just know that I believe that when people are thinking from a public health perspective, and we're getting our community members, the ones that are in need of treatment, the help that they need, it becomes a public health issue, but it also becomes a public safety, where it becomes where we actually have better health outcomes. I wish I had research in front of me. I don't right now. I would love to help provide that, but I just believe in our community. I love Binghamton. I'm raising my 12-year-old daughter here. My mother's here from Reno, Nevada, and California too. My sister came from Colorado here. We are committed to this community, and I've never felt safer. And I know that the work that ACBC does, and I believe in the training that we get from getting a CASAC at SUNY Broome. I believe in the work that Binghamton University does, and I just am a community member and a person who is supportive of this initiative. So thank you for letting me share my 2 thoughts.
All right. Thank you.
Hi. Oh, okay. I'm not a good public speaker, so I appreciate some grace. I would have worn a nicer sweatshirt if I knew I was going to talk. Amanda Fowler, 17 Ridgey Road, Salisbury Mills, New York. I did write a few things just to keep my mind on track. So as you can probably tell, not from the area. Since we're doing qualifications, I'm in my 2nd year of my social work program right now. I started my recovery journey in Albany, New York in my undergrad, where I was privileged enough to have the resources, the supports in the community, a privilege not everybody has in this community. Since we want to talk about drug deals are happening in Broome County at an alarming rate. That's why we need these services. And I heard someone mention appearance of the community. I would even like to ask if anyone knows the overdose death toll right now in Broome County. Now, as a child who grew up around addiction, I would have rather had 10 ACBCs by my local park than watch my family go without treatment. 20 ACBCs. I've seen the impact that this has had on the community, and I've seen the impact that ACBC has had on clients. And for the record, I do not get paid by ACBC. Just want to put that out there. That's all I really had. I have to go soon, so that's why I just want to give my little spiel. And I will also try to be at every meeting as well. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Hello. I'm probably gonna pop the mic. I'll try my best not to. My name is Brooke Ballard. I live at 24 Brewster Street in Johnson City. And I feel like Eric Menendez with the mic. So I just wanted to do, I am not a current employee of ACBC. I am a former employee of ACBC. I have since transferred to the medical field. But I thought it was important as I sat here and I listened to everybody. I feel like it was my duty to kind of come up and talk a little bit. First, I want to say that I am an addict. I'm a recovering addict. And second, I want to say that I am a 2-time combat vet that came back with no resources. The VA wouldn't look at me. Nobody would look at me. And I came back with an addiction problem. I was deployed when I was 19 years old. And I seen stuff that I wasn't supposed to see as a 19-year-old. And after my 2nd term and I came back, I had an addiction and I didn't know what to do with it. So I just kept moving on and moving on and moving on and kept doing it. I was a frequent member of the Union Bar. I spent lots of money there. And till I went to ACBC and I started working there. And ACBC realized that I had a problem. And they didn't fire me. They didn't turn their back on me. They helped me. For the first time since I had stepped back here, ACBC helped me and sent me to rehab, where I've now been in recovery for almost 3 years. And I give that thanks to ACBC because they helped me through that. They lifted me up. They picked me up from the bottom. And I think that's an important thing to say tonight. I am forever in debt to ACBC, and I believe that it's going to be a great thing for the community. People need help. Addicts like me and like others that you know, we need help. A lot of other places have turned their back and there's nowhere else to turn. ACBC doesn't. They're there to help. They're not there to spike the crime. They're there to assist the community. The community, there's already crime, there's already drug dealing going on. It's already going on. It's already here. It's already around our kids. It's already in our streets. Let them help. Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
Hello, folks. Here we go. My name is Daryl Cramp. There we go. I got it. My name is Daryl. Okay, there we go.
There.
My name is Daryl Crampton again here, my brother Daryl. I grew up on Gray Street in the city of Binghamton at number 7. I've been there since about 1971. I've inherited like my great grandparents' house. I used to bring the paper to Anatech, the power plant at the corner of Jarvis and Main Street, or excuse me, Clinton Street. And I delivered you the main paper up at the end of Charles Street, the main doors. I've seen nothing over the past years of our neighborhood but going downhill, losing the business and industry over there. I know everybody has a place where they need to go. I currently have cirrhosis of the liver with ascites, and fortunately I was able to kick it without any help. I came out of the hospital and went cold turkey. Not everybody can do that. But getting back to the neighborhood, the resources that people need, and I understand they do need them, but where do we put them? Again, we have a park right down the street. We have the boys club and girls club down the street. The place is going to be open from 8 in the morning until 8 at night. Where are these people going to go after that? We're down 30 officers. These unfortunate people, some of them are fortunate, but they just choose the path they choose. They bring their wares with them. They hide them around our neighborhoods. I have Ring cameras all around my house, and has nothing to do with the bar. Again, I've lived there when the old bar was there. I delivered the paper to a lot of bars on Clinton Street, so don't just throw things at the bar. It's not that. It's resource. So the bar is not the problem. It's resource and a place to put it. I don't find that as being a good place. Again, they're forgetting about our neighborhood, the park down the street with all the children. There are still children in our neighborhood. And again, we're from 8 p.m. until 8 a.m. Where will these unfortunate, or some fortunate people that just don't have the willpower to stay, to try to help themselves. I don't want to take up everybody's time, and it's my first time. I hope I did all right, but I'm very concerned for our neighborhood. We have the senior center right there. I like to walk my neighborhood, and I mow. I take care of property around. Just if it looks bad, I'll grab my mower and my weed whacker just to go make it look good. I hope not to have to clean up stuff from people in the neighborhood that need the resources, but our neighborhood just isn't the place for it. Thank you for your time, folks.
All right. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Becca Moore. I live at 24, I almost said I live at 15 Charles, sometimes. I live at 24 Brewster Street, Johnson City, New York. And I wasn't actually prepared to come in here and speak tonight. But after hearing people before me, I think I do have to come down here and I guess share a little bit. I hear several people coming up here and talking about the schools in the area, the park in the area where these people are going to go. Well, it's an amazing thing that ACBC through the years that I've been there for 10 years when I first started. 10 years ago, there were 26 employees, including the maintenance staff. And now we have, as previously stated, over 140 employees now working there. And thankfully, some of them, a lot of them actually are peer advocates. A lot of them are care managers, and we have an entire fleet of vehicles that we offer transportation services to our clients if they do not have the ability to get transportation services. We also offer bus passes. Clinton Street just happens to be, thankfully, on the bus route. So they're not just going to be hanging out in the area with their works. They will, and not to say it like that, but they will be able to get on the bus. They will be able to leave the area if they don't live there. Now, this is another thing I will say. I am a person in long-term recovery. I've come to every single one of these meetings that we've been at. And although I've been in recovery for quite some time, it has not changed out there. If anything, it's gotten worse. And Clinton Street has not gotten any better in that general area. So on those back streets, Grace Street, Lydia, Oak, those are not the greatest streets already. Yes, children live there. Yes, families live there, but drugs do too. It's already existing. It already is there. Crime exists already in the area. There are bars already there. And the thing is addiction also doesn't have a face. You can't drive down Clinton Street. You can't drive down in Shenango Bridge. You can't drive down in Endicott. You can't drive anywhere and identify addiction on somebody's face. It exists everywhere. And we need these facilities no matter where they may be, no matter where they may be located. If it's close to a park, I mean, we have a South Side facility, not we, but there is a facility over on the South Side, which is very close to a school as well. And so again, when we're coming up here and we're kind of pleading our case, I ask you to like really think about these things, because again, these areas have not changed since I was using myself 14, 15 years ago. It hasn't. It's gotten worse. I know this because I do, although I'm in a supervisory position at this point, like I still go out there. I still go out there with the people that I work with. And I still see the things that go on, and it hasn't changed. It's not getting any better, regardless of the neighborhood. It doesn't matter where we go. Addiction exists there already. Drugs exist there already. People use everywhere. People deal drugs everywhere. Thank you. People are going to use everywhere. People are going to sell drugs everywhere. People sell drugs in schools. People sell, it doesn't matter where you are. It is going to exist. It could exist when we walk out of here tonight as you're passing someone by. Are we going to therefore say we shouldn't have this meeting here because people are dealing drugs outside of this meeting? Probably not. Just because it exists doesn't mean that a facility shouldn't, to help those people who are coming in needing the help that they need to get.
All right, thank you. Anyone else that would like to speak?
Good evening. My name is Matthew Mayette. I'm a neighbor. I co-own 17 Charles Street, the smaller brick building that occupies that area. I just want to say, since they moved in, life as an owner for me has gotten better. They've been great neighbors. They've maintained the building. I'm just talking about the physical plant. But in terms of maintaining the building, my feeling is if they take care of the smaller things, they're going to take care of the bigger things. Granted, I'm only there during the day. I don't see what happens at night, but I'm there early in the morning and I have cameras, and I have not noticed anything but an improvement since they've moved into the neighborhood. So I'm for whatever the plans are. And I live closer than anybody else to them. So that's what I'd like to say. That's it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you all again. Name's Adam Kipp. I own properties from 1 Gray Street down to 252 Clinton Street, which is just about a 3-block span. I believe this is the 4th or 5th meeting that I've attended for ACBC attempting to obtain a special use permit, of which they've already been denied. Not only did they go behind the back of this commission by having their friends in city council try to get this use pushed through the back door, which was when squashed by both the mayor of Binghamton and the county executive. But they've ignored the planning committee's ruling and did what they wanted to do anyway. They have used their warming center and they are already using the space as an outpatient clinic. They have been, in fact, been cited for using this property outside of what they are legally allowed to do right now. So I ask you, how can we trust anything that they're here saying? I think we discussed in the previous meetings that this is a segregated project. And they stated just when they came up, what they're going to do with the first floor and the second floor. But in their own words, we have no idea what the use of the third floor is going to be at this time. So that's another concern of mine, is if they are granted this special use permit as a social services use, what does that entail? I mean, does that just give them an open door to pretty much do whatever they want to do down the road? Also, obviously, a concern of most of the neighborhood, a lot of residents and a lot of business owners, is I don't think they've offered any information on what they plan to do for security. I believe at prior meetings, they said they were going to be putting cameras up, and I'm not sure if that has been done. I'd like to address some of the comments from some of the folks that have come to speak already. As I've stated before, I have deep compassion in my heart for anybody that's affected with the awful disease of addiction, and anybody that I have personal friends and family that have struggled with addiction, and some have passed from their addiction, some have passed from suicide, which addiction often leads to. So I am very compassionate, and I do give all the credit in the world to the people that came up and spoke, that that they've been clean for however long. It's a hard fight, and the service is absolutely needed in all areas. I think the main concern is this the right area for it? We've had a few people that have spoken about the Union Hotel. I think Mr. Scott said that there was 188 calls to the Union, which isn't a lot over 12 years. But what information is not given there is the majority of those calls, I would say, came within the first 2 years when we were working on cleaning up the neighborhood. When we moved in, it was not a great place. I put my own personal safety on the line and would approach drug deals going on the corners, thefts going on around, and okay, thank you. And contrary to popular belief, we could foil records of that entire area now, and I would say it's a much nicer area than it was 12 years ago. So it actually has gotten way better. Anybody that's been on the police force for that long or on the fire department will tell you that. And to be referred to as a bar, just so it's on record, over 75% of our sales are food. So any insurance company or anybody that would rate us, we are a full service restaurant. We are not a bar that's open all night. And so I just want to make that clear for anybody here that would question any of that. As also stated, there is quite a few business owners and residents that I've personally spoken to that were unable to make it here tonight due to the day it came on. So I would ask that the decision that you make tonight be pushed forward so you have a chance to hear from some of the other residents and business owners that do oppose this. Thank you all very much.
All right, thank you. Anyone else who would like to speak?
We did get a letter in opposition from Jason Kovarik. I don't know if everybody got a chance to see that.
not to belabor it, but I think I'll read his letter into the record. I think it's important. So dear members of the Binghamton Planning Board, unfortunately, due to a familial conflict, I am unable to attend tonight's public hearing regarding ACBC's request for a special use permit for office space and outpatient drug rehabilitation facility. However, I did wish to write and make my position clear. While I am not opposed to ACBC's use of their building located at 15 Charles Street for their administrative offices, I do not support the facility being used as an outpatient drug rehabilitation center. My biggest concern with such a facility is that it will serve as a hub and a reason for drug addicts to move into the first ward. It is no secret that ACBC's last attempt at a special use permit for a blue light shelter was highly contested by both members of the community and local businesses alike. I don't see how this will be any different. When their special use permit was denied, they engaged in backdoor tactics with their allies on city council to try and get the area rezoned to suit their needs. Unfortunately for them, they failed in that endeavor when it was exposed that they were already utilizing their space improperly as per zoning law and cited. If they were willing to do that, what is to stop them from putting a safe space for drug use on their property or a homeless shelter as they originally intended to do if they are approved for this special use permit? If we're looking to revitalize the first ward so that Clinton Street can reach its full potential, we must examine the effect of a facility like this on the surrounding residences and businesses. If the first ward is to become the vibrant, walkable neighborhood that it has the potential to be, then I believe putting a rehab facility in the center of it is a contradiction to the revitalization effort. We are looking to add more businesses, housing, and industry to this area. How will putting a rehab facility at 15 Charles Street serve as a boon for that? On the contrary, I would think it is a detractor. Why would anyone looking to start a business, buy their first home, or look to relocate their business operations to the Charles Street Business Park want to move into a space that is a stone's throw from a drug rehab facility? There are other locations in the city of Binghamton that are better suited for an operation like this, not in an area that we are trying to lift after decades of decline and neglect. I wish to thank you for your consideration in this matter, and please vote against putting a drug rehabilitation facility in the heart of Clinton Street. Sincerely, Jason Kovarik. All right. All right, anybody else who would like to speak about the project? All right, seeing nobody approaching the microphone, we'll give the applicant a chance to respond. I don't think we're going to close the public hearing formally just yet, but you can respond to anything that's been brought up tonight so far.
I just have a few comments and then I'll turn it over to Carmela. First of all, I just want to make sure that everyone has a fundamental understanding of this application. There is no residential component associated with this application at all. This is an 8 to 8 Monday through Friday business. It's not, there's no overnight stays. I heard a comment about beds in the basement in the fire department. As many people have correctly indicated, and as you all know, we did make an application for a warming station and that was denied. So this is not that application. We've also put it on the record that should there ever be a wish to expand use into some sort of residential component, that we recognize and acknowledge that we would be required to come back to this board to do that. So this is a pretty narrow application. So maybe I should just talk a little bit about what a special permit is. So a special permit is the legislature has already determined, the elected officials, that social services uses are permitted in this district subject to conditions, right? So the legislative body has already determined that things like methadone clinics, I mean, there's a list in the zoning regulations, which includes this use. So whether or not it's a good or a bad idea has already been determined by the legislative body. There aren't a lot of places where social services uses are permitted. This also is not a residential area. This is a commercial industrial area. There also aren't many of those in the city of Binghamton. So when you're looking at the comments that people are making, and I say that in favor and in opposition, You're hearing a lot of what we often call NIMBY, not in my backyard. Like, this is a great idea, but not here, somewhere else. That's something that is often heard when something new comes to town, or there's some occupation of a previously vacant project. It is absolutely untrue that ACBC has been conducting any activity at the premises that is not known or permitted in terms of overnight accommodations, in terms of client-facing activity. They have not. They have a facility on State Street, correct? And that's where that portion of the business that they do is taking place. So I think that we just want to be really clear about what we're asking you to approve here. It's essentially administrative offices and a clinic. There's no outside component. It's entirely inside the building. These are like going to doctor's appointments. You go, you spend an hour waiting and 15 minutes talking to the person, and you leave, like my own spouse's doctor office. So yes, I mean, these are not where you're staying for 5 or 6 hours, where you're hanging out. You go, you have your group, you have your meeting with your provider, and you're done. So it's coming and going. In terms of parking, we have way more parking than we would ever need. There are 140 parking spaces. You know, we're on a public bus system. It's just, I've hardly ever seen a parking lot this big. It's a big building, I'll give you that. But we certainly have enough parking. I guess I'll just turn it over to Carmela to talk about some of the questions that were asked.
Okay, so I guess I do want to point out quickly that as of this meeting, we have 25 patients that are ages 4 to 11. We have 53 patients who are ages 12 to 18. We were recipients over the summer of a special adolescent endorsement because of the high level of care that we provide for children and adolescents. So I don't foresee there being problems with us in the neighborhood because we actually care for children, much like the UHS outpatient clinic on Clinton Street. CTRC treated children on Clinton Street. So sometimes these are children that actually come to ACBC. Right now, the concentration of patients that we have in the outpatient clinic that live in 13905 is 62. So we're not bringing in this flood of undesirable humans into the neighborhood. This is where they live. 97 across the city of Binghamton, just in the outpatient clinic. So, you know, there are already social services that are on Clinton Street, and 15 Charles actually previously had social services. Catholic Charities had quite a bit of space until they moved out in July this summer. Those service recipients that go to Catholic Charities also come to ACBC or New Horizons or Family and Children's. I don't imagine that New Horizons over on the campus of UHS or Family and Children's on Main Street, you know, are destroying the neighborhood. We actually improve the neighborhood. And I think we just really have to clarify, this is not a code blue shelter. This is not a space where people are staying overnight. The reason that we presented that proposal first is because there's an extremely dire need in the community, and it seemed the most humanitarian thing to do is to not let people freeze to death. Clearly, that wasn't meant to be for us, but that was why we started there, because the county and the state immediately were like, we need this for the winter. So we're like, okay, that makes sense. But the plan was always to move over our clinic so that we could provide a cleaner, updated space, have some room for expansion. So it's basically relocating our clinic. These are outpatient services where people come to a waiting room. In terms of security, we would like to have a metal detector. We would like to be, you know, key entry cameras, all of the things that we already have in place at 30 West State Street. while there may be crimes being committed, it's not necessarily our patients. We are frequently contacted by BPD to be asked, do you have any footage of this? Something happened in this area. Can we see your cameras? We assisted Binghamton detectives in June of this summer at 15 Charles because they were monitoring activity. They wanted to see if we had footage. Of course, we would help, and we would be able to put up more cameras and enhance that. So there are already social services on Clinton Street. So, and Catholic Charities was there, CTRC, the Our House Respite Program, 295 Clinton Street, St. Cyril's, St. Michael's. There's tons and tons of foot traffic utilizing those pantries and going to the churches. So this is not something that we are going to bring in and ruin the neighborhood. So we have actually been helpful in the neighborhood. We have removed overgrown vegetation at the request of our neighbors on Grace Street. We've reached out several times to Councilman Porter. We would want to participate in any neighborhood watch and be involved however we can. So in terms of NIMBY, if we are actually looking at the literature and research, violent crime around addiction treatment centers was no different than around convenience stores and even less than around liquor stores and corner stores. The average number of violent crimes around addiction treatment centers was less than liquor stores, corner stores, and convenience stores. So substantially lower. So I guess I'm a little bit surprised about Mr. Kavarik's letter because he did send correspondence on August 7th to the city. And I'm going to quote the email, and I brought it with me. He said, "First, let me be clear, myself and other Clinton Street business owners are not against ACBC moving into 15 Charles, and we support their mission to help homeless, destitute, and addicted. Consolidation of their offices at that location would bring new employees into this community that could potentially shop at local businesses in the first ward. So since we have relocated just our administrative departments, we've shopped there 11 times. And we probably would go more, but obviously like we have sensed hostility from some of our neighbors. You know, I have reached out to him. I have reached out to Mr. Kipp. I communicate with Mr. Kachudorian, and I welcome anyone to come take a look, see what we want to do, understand like this is a clinic. People come, they have a service, and they leave. So I guess with regards to thinking about crime, just understand 172 police dispatches to a restaurant. Those charges included 31 noise complaints, 12 public health violations, 3 larcenies, 1 vehicle theft, 3 criminal mischiefs, 5 fights, 3 disputes, 16 MVA property damages, 1 assault, and 1 narcotic. If people are going to establishments where they maybe are going to drink alcohol, they're going to eat, often like during COVID, our alcohol sales increased 253% in New York State. That's a lot of DWIs. Where do people go when they get a DWI and they want to maintain their driving privileges? Like they're going to need to go get an assessment. They're going to need to determine like what needs to happen. So like it's important that communities work together that acknowledge like these are things that happen and there's ways and means to address that. So I don't feel that ACBC should be treated any differently than any other healthcare provider like UHS, like Southern Tier Physical Therapy, or any other healthcare provider. I don't want to have a belief that like it's okay for people to go out and have places to eat and drink, but it's not okay for people to have a clean, safe facility to go get treatment. That does not make sense. And as it stands, Broome County, we are ranking 4th in the worst overdose deaths in the state. So I think it should make sense that healthcare services that are critical and needed are allowed to expand and grow. And in my 16 years at ACBC, 2 fights, literally, like one person hit another person. Unfortunately, someone stopped taking their medications. We weren't informed. Like there's no situation of constant fights or problems, that sort of thing. Typically, if we are calling the police, we need help to get somebody to the hospital. So
I think my last comment will be, the people that are seeking treatment aren't the ones we should be worried about. It's the people that want treatment and can't find it. Those are the people that we should worry about. Providing this service just serves to protect our community and to provide services to those who are seeking it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Questions? Chris?
Actually, this first question would be to Tito and to Greg. So 3 different folks, 1 in writing and 2 verbally at the public hearing, referenced without real detail fire inspection concerns and citations. Can either of you 2 provide any detail about these allegations that there's fire inspection concerns or citations by the applicant at this current location?
Yeah, we haven't gotten any communication from the fire department about this project. The person speaking mentioned the basement, but that's not part of the proposal here. And then as far as the other citation, they started operating their offices at this facility. The offices of a social services facility in the zoning code are supposed to be categorized as social services, which, as we know, requires a special use permit. So when they started operating their offices there, they were in violation of the zoning code for that reason, because they were operating the offices of a social services facility without getting a special use permit for social services. I don't know of any other department citations, but that was the zoning offense.
And just so you know,
Care to address that?
yeah, the confusion there for us, I'm not confused, but the path that we chose to take was to not argue that conclusion. Office use is a use permitted by right, and there are no social service activities taking place at the facility. So it was our position that administrative office was permitted. Code enforcement officer determined something different. Instead of challenging that, we have proceeded down this path.
Yeah.
Carmela, you mentioned when addressing some of the security and safety concerns that were brought up during the public hearing, that you would be open to a metal detector, key access, security cameras.
Absolutely.
Are you willing to update the site plan to reflect those?
Yes.
Or we're willing to commit on the record and then update the site plan accordingly.
All right, any other questions, concerns?
Gentleman made mention on the 3rd floor of the building. Could you just hit on, is there any plans for the use of that 3rd floor? Are there going to be anything in the future?
Right now, there's no plans. There are beautiful apartments on that floor. It would be an excellent transitional living space, but I'm not looking at a proposal. I don't have anything put together. I've had some other organizations approach me to see if they could lease space. Some other community not-for-profits that are looking for space. So, right now there's no plans, but I do understand we would have to return and present.
I noted the same theme of a few people that said that they were in support of the project and talked about the site selection. Could you help put into the record how you selected the site and ended up there?
Well, we started looking for space in 2016 and really could not find anything that would be large enough to contain all of the therapy offices, the group rooms, to allow for separate space for waiting rooms for kids and adolescents. And in the meantime, our care management services have really, really grown. So just we looked at many, many places and started in 2016. So like the layout being organized very cleanly was important to us for security purposes. And also, you know, just the amount of money that we had to spend. There were some places that we considered, but like were considerably more costly. The building was 1.45 million. Mind you, our rent at 30 West State Street, when we had to overflow and acquire more space, was almost $19,000 a month.
All right. Chris?
Nick, this is more of a procedural question. I'm going to direct this to you and my fellow commissioners. A couple people brought up the fact that this meeting is being held on election day. We have not closed the public hearing. So I would ask my fellow commissioners if we think we should keep the whole public hearing open to the December meeting to allow those who could not attend tonight to come and speak their piece. I would be willing to hold the meeting open one more meeting.
Okay.
I don't know how my fellow commissioners feel.
How's everybody feel? Kelly, you're in favor of that? Tim, in favor? Kyle, in favor? Manny? Mario? Does that do anything to your timeline if the meeting is held over?
Yes.
Okay. Can we hear what that does to your timeline?
So we need to relocate our services. We don't have enough space. It's delaying hiring critical staff that we need. We have the opportunity to replace the entire roof. We have the opportunity to upgrade all of the windows. We have the opportunity to at least get the framing done for the first floor, like get the framing and the electrical taken care of. And it's delaying care and adequate staffing for care and positions that I can't fill because there's nowhere to put them.
Special interim meeting or in between
Yeah, that just.
this
be a
and our
couple
December?
weeks away. Just give it enough time to get, because this is a tough day to do this.
You know, I don't disagree with your position on the day, but the day is as inconvenient for all of us as it is for the members of the public. And I questioned that decision at the last meeting if we were going to meet tonight. And, you know, this is when the meeting was scheduled. The public notices have gone out. It's been in the newspaper. You know, let's just be honest. I don't think you're going to hear anything particularly different in 2 weeks than you're hearing tonight. You might hear more of it, but I don't think it's going to be a whole lot different than what you're hearing.
That's true. Everybody is given the opportunity to submit letters if they can't attend, which we specifically tonight read the one letter that we got to make sure it was heard. I tend to agree. I don't think we're going to hear anything new.
Let's do this to make it clean. I will make a motion to extend the public hearing. To make it an easy motion. To extend it to the normally scheduled December meeting.
Okay.
If it fails for lack of a second, so be it. But I'm gonna
Okay.
make that motion.
All right. So a motion by Chris to continue tonight, but leave the public hearing open so that the project will be tabled and held over into the December meeting. Is there a second on that? All right, there's no second, so the motion will fail. All right. So it sounds like everybody is okay closing the public hearing for tonight and moving forward and making some decisions. All right, then we will close the public hearing and we can finish talking with the applicant. One question that seems to be, keeps coming up is this idea that at the end of the day, people are going to be released into the neighborhood and all, you know, it's, everyone's going to become feral at 8 o'clock. Could you restate again the the process of somebody coming to the building, what is that like?
We have many individuals that come for treatment after work. So like, they're not going to get to us till 5:30 or 6, or maybe their group runs from 5 PM to 8 PM. Typically, our clients that are coming in the evening at that time, like, have vehicles. They're not going to be like running around Clinton Street. We offer evening intensive outpatient services in Endicott. We offer evening intensive outpatient services at 30 West State Street. And I can assure you, like, they're not running around feral, like, kicking people, and it's not happening.
Yeah.
So.
Other than that, in the day, it's just like you go to an appointment. You have an appointment, you go, however you get there, you get there, however you leave, you leave. They've already indicated that they have transportation privately.
Yep.
But there's also public transportation during the day.
And you have other facilities that are run similar to the way that this will be run currently.
The main Binghamton location is at 30 West State Street. Our Endicott office is at 306 East Main Street, and we have a Norwich office.
All right. So I'm hoping I'm not opening a Pandora's box, but why don't, when you come to talk about what this is going to be, why don't you talk about how well those other facilities are working, and that all of these concerns, you're not having those concerns at those other places, right?
Yes, and Endicott is in proximity to 2 schools. We have many children that come to that office. Norwich is in a plaza that's co-located with Catholic Charities, with other organizations. And we have many children that come to that office. Like, it's literally an outpatient service, like Family and Children's or CTRC or Cornerstone. Like, it is an outpatient service.
And as far as you're aware, the crime rate hasn't skyrocketed at any of those facilities?
No, but part of why we need to leave 30 West State Street is it's not good over there, and that is not ECBC's doing. So,
Okay.
right. And we also, we have a landlord that hasn't taken care of potholes, like, that hasn't addressed HVAC issues, we don't have enough room there. So, those are part of the reasons that we're leaving.
Okay. All right. Tim? Yeah.
So you're leaving a very impoverished area due to the issues that you're having there, but are there going to be people that need those resources and services in that community then?
They would be able to access the bus because of the ability to access the bus on State Street and also on Clinton Street. It's still walkable if people needed to walk. I don't love the idea of leaving that area, but there are other service providers there. And the people that, they have choices for their outpatient services. If that's not going to be a good location for them, it's still New Horizons is further away. Family and Children's is further away. They have Cornerstone, so.
All right. Any other questions, comments, concerns? All right, seeing none. I'll make a motion. Sorry, hold on. At the last meeting, this proposal involves, we voted that this proposal involves a reuse of an existing commercial building, which is a type 2 action, so no further environmental review is required. And based on what I heard tonight, I'll make a motion that the requirements for site plan review and special use permit have been met. Oh, Kelly, do. Sure. Do you want to make that contingent approval? Yeah, let's talk about that for a little bit. So contingent approval, and what would everybody prefer to see or hear as the language for that? Oh, Tito wants to weigh in.
I just want to clarify the staff comment about landscaping and a privacy fence. The applicant referred to it as being on that ancillary lot all the way to the north. But what planning staff the intent was for that fence and landscaping to be on the northern property line where the building is located. So at the top of the parking lot, adjacent to the building. Next to, I forget the address on Jarvis, but
The parcel that is like a
correct,
miscellaneous things are there.
correct. So I just wanted to clarify that. Obviously, you can make that a condition if you want or not.
All right, and you guys have no problem with that?
No,
Okay. So landscaping and a fence along the northern property line of the property of 15 Charles Street. Adjacent to the building, yes, on 15 Charles Street. Okay. Whoa.
They can't put fencing. No.
Great. Security wise, we're looking for additional security cameras or
Based on the comments Carmela made, the three things that I had written down were a metal detector, key access, and cameras.
sorry, say that one more time. Metal detector, key access,
And security cameras.
and cameras. Or is that you're okay with that? All right,
I think we can just generally say access control.
access control. All right. All right. So I'll make a motion that the requirements for site plan review and special use permit have been met, contingent on the site plan being revised to show the fence and landscaping on the northern property line of 15 Charles Street. That the site plan be updated to include a note about security measures, including metal detector, access control, and cameras. All right. That's my motion. Seconded by Manny. All in favor? Are you in favor? All right. Kelly, are you in favor? Kyle, are you in favor? Sorry, Tim, are you in favor? I need everybody to put their hands up if you're in favor, like very high. All right. All right, so that's 6 in favor, all opposed?
Me.
1 opposed. All right. So the motion passes. All right. Good luck. All right. We've got 2 more public hearings tonight to get through and all right, so our next public hearing. Our next public hearing will be for the applicant James Slocum. Project address is 79 Collier Street. This is a site plan modification review to reconfigure the waste management plan for an existing mixed-use building in the C2 Downtown Business District.
Oh, my.
We potentially should have repositioned you to before that project, but we appreciate you sitting through.
I just assume I angered somebody.
Yeah.
Can I, before you start, I have to tell you, we left here this last meeting and you were measuring the dumpster when I drove past. I've never been so impressed by anything in my life. I called my
All
husband. I'm like, I just saw action on something we did. He's at the measuring. I don't know, made my day.
I have to be honest, I didn't realize before last meeting that we needed to have a lid and an enclosure, so I was trying to figure out the possibilities of it and figure out how we could actually do it and get it done.
All right. All right,
Yeah.
so what has changed since you were here last?
James Slocum, 81 State Street. Since our last meeting, we have adjusted slightly the location of the dumpster from the sidewalk location, approximately 10 feet. And we have placed it in what is a current parking space to allow for dumpsters with lids and to alleviate any concerns about a city alley with a right of way that may have been affected by the previous plan. Additionally, the 20-yard dumpster has been changed to 2 8-yard dumpsters with lids, and the 6-foot chain link fence with privacy panels has been increased in height to 8 foot because even though the 8-yard dumpsters are smaller in size, they are taller in height. And we have obtained approval from the garbage company for this change, which probably does not affect your rulings, but it's important for us because they also are very hands-on with the location.
All right. All right, any questions, comments? It's a relief to talk about dumpsters. All right, so we'll open the public hearing. Oh, Tito.
Sorry, so the revised dumpsters plan was sent to the county when it was received. The county does reserve the right to sort of restart their 30-day review period when they get changes to the drawings, and they exercise that right in this case. So we don't have 239 comments yet for this proposal. And so the planning commission cannot vote without those comments. We were holding out hope that we might get them before the meeting, but we did not. So.
If we have to postpone it, can we put him first next meeting?
That's why we put you on last, so that give them more time.
Thank you.
Does it, what does it do to your timeline, or does it severely hamper you for if you have to wait until the next meeting?
If we have more weather like this, then no, it shouldn't affect it too much. The owner of the property does have a court date from the zoning department in regards to this issue. So, you know, I think that zoning would have to kind of give him or speak with the judge for an adjournment so that, you know, he doesn't get in trouble due to this.
Tito, would it be appropriate for the planning department to issue some sort of a letter that can be provided for this upcoming court case saying we were prepared to address this, but because the county's dragging their feet, blah, blah, blah?
That would be communicated. I don't know if it'll necessarily be a letter, but yeah, it would be adjourned. Do you know when the court date is off the top of your head for this? No, we don't know. Okay.
But it's already been adjourned at least once, so that is probably pointed out, so I'm sure they're latching to their,
Okay.
Tito, can we do anything to approve it conditionally on if everything comes back? All right, so that they don't have to come back and wade through this?
So if the county recommends denial of this proposal, then the planning commission would need a supermajority to approve it. So that's kind of the only thing there. I mean, I don't know what the vote count would be. You might get a supermajority. That being said, it's inappropriate, I guess, to not wait for the comments since we're talking about it.
Well, let's do this. Does anybody have any problem with the revised plan that they want to talk about with the applicant? is anybody opposed if we said, normally we want the applicant to be here when we review stuff, but if we said it would be okay if you didn't attend next meeting, is anybody opposed to that? So we could save you the time of having to come back. Will you be here for any other projects at the next meeting that you're aware of?
I don't plan on being here, but
Okay.
if I have to be, I will.
All right. So if we, does everyone agree that he does not have to come back in person? We would, normally
He
we
did his
don't.
time already tonight.
Wait, who said that?
I said he did his time already
He did his
tonight.
time already. All right, well, seeing since there's no comments from anybody, yeah, I don't know, do you want me to do that today or wait until we get the 239 comments?
You should do it today.
Okay.
You'd have to open the public hearing since it was advertised anyway.
Okay.
I do have a unrelated question. Is this dumpster only for the use of 79 Collier Street, or is it being used? Is it available for use for neighboring properties?
It is a 79 Collier Street, dumpster. I would be, lying to you if I told you that I didn't, believe that, students from one building kind of will give the, students that they're friends with in a neighboring building, the, code or access to the dumpster enclosure and, we're certainly going to get garbage from other places, but we're currently getting that from neighboring businesses, from neighboring housing. So it's to the best we can make it, it's going to be for 79 Collier Street only.
All right. Well, let's do this. Let's open the public hearing and see if there's anybody here to speak about the project. So this is a public hearing for the applicant James Slocum at 79 Collier Street. This is a site plan modification review to reconfigure the waste management plan for an existing mixed-use building in the C2 Downtown Business District. If there's anybody that would like to speak about the project, please come to the microphone.
Slow people.
All right. Seeing nobody, do you want us to keep the public hearing open?
You should keep it open,
All right.
in light of the comments.
All right, so we'll keep the public hearing open. We can't make a ruling tonight because we don't have the 239 comments. But we're all in agreement that you don't have to come back in person unless you change the plan between now and then.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay. And then we'll just need a motion to table the project until December. All right. A motion by Tim, second by Manny, all in favor? All right, 7 in favor, 0 opposed. All right,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, and that brings us to our last public hearing for tonight. This is for the applicant Zachariah Mosley Duran. I'm sure I murdered that name, I'm sorry. Project address is 81 to 87 State Street, and this is a site plan review for the establishment of a retail food sales business, delicatessen and juice bar in the C2 Downtown Business District. Welcome.
Hey, my name is Zachariah Duran. My plan address is in 81 State Street. And my plan to open in a deli and juice bar.
All right. Any changes since the last time you were in?
Yes, we submit the site plan for the estimate for the garbage, where they're gonna be located at, and the lights. And I submit it to the planning commission.
All right.
Is the plan still to have a 24-hour?
Yes.
So I was just looking at neighboring stores and delis, and I didn't see anything that was open past, say, 4 a.m. And I'd be more comfortable if we limited the hours to nothing later than 4 a.m. Is that something that you'd be open to if we put that as a requirement?
Yeah, as my experience with the 24 hours deli as in Northside deli, like all the areas and the bars is being closed at 3 o'clock. All the street is like is being empty by like 3:45 because I've been here like many times, like a month, 2 months. I've been study the area, and I'm trying to like, and Miriam's oldest is being up. The latest store has been up to 4 o'clock, 4 o'clock and close. So at the 4 o'clock, this was like I see a lot of deliveries and come from here, and I'm attracting like the fire, like the police officers. Most of them come at the time. Early workers, all this would they come to my stores. And I'm just gonna let Jim to explain more what we talked about earlier.
Sure, after the questions last meeting, I foresaw this as being a potential stipulation. So I kind of went over it in detail with him. And I think that if I'm explaining it properly, that a big portion of his business at his former deli was deliveries to that area during the late night, early morning hours. So I think that is something that's important to his business. But I also think that potentially there's some sort of I guess negotiation that could be made where maybe he did deliveries or didn't take foot traffic after 4 a.m. Because from 4 to 6 they're there anyway, cleaning up and restocking and things like that.
We did get police comment that they would like to get people off the streets for those reasons, and having those later hours. I think open for delivery is a great idea to do that, but they're trying to get it so they can get things cleaned up from the mayhem from the night before, and just getting them off the streets at those times, like Manny said, would be super helpful. And that's why.
Yeah, and I think that concern was transient traffic. If everything else is closing at that time, especially in months, winter months, things that they might be attracted to that spot as somewhere to continue the night, I suppose. I know that's not the intention behind the business, but
Right.
just with the location of it, it has to be, it's something we have to consider. So.
Understood.
Tito.
So what the Binghamton Police Department would like ideally is for the hours of operation to stop when the bars close. So that would be 1 a.m. on weeknights, 3 a.m. on weekends. That would assist their officers in clearing the block out and getting rid of any reasons for people to stay on that block. I mean, the Planning Commission could do whatever it thinks is appropriate in terms of hours of operation. It could be deliveries only after those times, or it could be that, it's 20 hours instead of 24, and it stops at 1 a.m. and then they could reopen at 5 a.m. or whatever the case may be. But what the Binghamton Police Department is asking for is for that business not to be open to the public when the bars close. And it could reopen an hour or two after, but they make an effort to clear the block out immediately after the bars close. So that's what they're asking for.
Mostly the time I'm looking like from 4 to 7 is mostly what we're working at deliveries mostly. Nobody being at the street, at least if it's a police officer or fire department or early workers. And at that time, mostly we got deliveries to our store, early deliveries to my store. So at that time, like a lot of people's been in the store at that time.
Yeah, everybody. Chris.
So I have a concern with deliveries because there's no parking on that block.
We got a parking like front of the store. That's what I found right now parking. My car I parked it in front of the store. That's the only place I
the
found.
public metered parking.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's where deliveries would be coming through, is the metered parking there?
No, it's gonna be actually at the back of the buildings where it's like can load it. Like nobody crossing by the cross street from the stadium.
So they would have access from gorgeous Washington Street there?
Correct, from the,
Yeah.
what is that called?
The back entrance or exit of the property leads you directly out to the courtyard that's next to the parking ramp.
Bingham, yeah, okay. Like Binghamton House area.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's metered parking as well.
And so all right, we need to clarify this. So these delivery vehicles overnight are pulling onto the bricks to pick up these deliveries from the back door?
No,
No.
no,
I mean, I heard Jake, no.
no.
Can you clarify? Where are the Uber Eats drivers or the DoorDash people who are getting these deliveries at 4 a.m. from your store? Where are they parking their cars?
They come parking with the cross street, like in front of the store where the parking meters is.
The metered parking, which is like, there's like 5 spots.
But also
No.
that's gonna be closed, right? Because that's the police closing that street. I've been to the bars because I went to BU, but like, I kind of remember leaving the bars. But isn't it closed off because Binghamton Police does have that closed?
At a certain point, I think they do close State Street, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But does it opens back up? Yeah.
We've, I'm sorry. Okay, we discussed this kind of in detail. And I think that the majority of the deliveries are done by their in-house delivery, which, you know, they have a little more control over. I'm sure that they will have, you know, some Uber Eats traffic and stuff, which is harder to control. But at least for their personal delivery person, they're going to have a parking spot in the ramp. Now, is that their most effective solution? Absolutely not. You know, you still have to walk across the courtyard. But if there's no parking available, they will have somewhere to go. If there's a spot open, no, they're not going to go to the parking ramp, but if they need to, then that's what they're gonna do.
The intention is we're not approving something that's constantly going to be double parked cars in front of the store, right?
Right.
Right. I think that has been a concern.
So I think just a little clarification too, the product coming in, the goods for sale and services, that would be coming in through the brick courtyard there. And what type of delivery vehicle is bringing that product to your store? Is it a big box truck? Is it a 18-wheeler?
Is actually it's not a big box. It's like come with the hand track. It's like easy.
Correct, but what type of vehicle is your delivery service gonna have for bringing your goods for sale?
Most of the stuff we bring them, and as a meat or this is a company is like you can say as a cargo van or the I don't know what they call it, like the 15 van. That's what they bring.
Cargo van.
Cargo van 15.
Okay, thank you.
Wow.
Okay. Any other questions, comments before we open the public hearing? We're good for now. All right, well, let's open the public hearing and see if there's anybody here to talk about the project. All right, so this is the last public hearing of the night for Zachariah Mosley Duran. The project address is 81 to 87 State Street, and this is a site plan review for the establishment of a retail food sales business, delicatessen and juice bar in the C2 Downtown Business District. If there's anybody that would like to speak about the project, please come to the microphone.
We did not receive any letters. We did get the BPD comments and the 239 comments.
All right, seeing nobody else approaching the microphone, we will close the public hearing. All right, so we did get comments from the county about this project. Did you guys see the comments from the county?
Actually, no.
Okay, so they just say the site plan should address the city historic design guidelines to the extent applicable and show the new window design and specifications garbage disposal plan, and any exterior lighting and any signage. Yes, so this is one of the buildings, has the historic purview of COD for any changes to the exterior.
I don't believe there's going to be any changes to the exterior. However, he is aware that he's got to get any signage approved by COD prior to putting it up.
All right, so just a sign that might change the historic character of the building.
Right.
All right, and you'd go through the process to get a permit. All right. And then there was one comment about a food permit from the Broome County Health Department may be required.
That's absolutely.
Okay. All right, so we got to solidify an answer about the hours of operation then. Is everyone in agreement to match the hours of the bars? So close at the same time the bars close? And then at that point, it could transition to delivery. You don't have to close fully, but it just couldn't be open to foot traffic at the same time. After the bars closed, the store could not be open to foot traffic. It would have to be deliveries only until the next morning at
6 a.m.
6 a.m. Is 6 a.m. it transitions back to people could come in to the store. Is that acceptable?
I think the only objection is the Merriam's and DP Dough, the other food places on the street, are open 1 hour past the bars. So if they could just get the same hours that they have, I think that there'd be no issue.
Gotcha.
But they're not on the same block that the police are trying to clear. There's an important distinction there, Jim.
DP Dough is, it's right next door to us.
Does DP Dough have approval to be open until 4 in the morning?
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I guess we could take his word for it. I'm not sure that.
Yeah, I was just saying, it's good that you're here. I don't think anybody knew they were staying open until 4 in the
Yeah,
morning.
their listed hours are 4 a.m.
4 a.m.
Talk about shooting myself in the foot.
Is DP Dough one of your tenants?
It is.
Oh,
But I am confident that they do have approval for those hours, but
Oh,
I'm
they
not
do.
100% sure.
Okay. Is 4 o'clock? Is just 4 o'clock? So the other night that the bars close at 1, what time do they stay open? DP Dough stay open?
They're 4 o'clock every night.
Every night?
Every night, yes.
Who's going to DP Dough at 4 in the morning?
On like a
Don't
Tuesday morning. Yeah.
Not me.
But on a Tuesday?
Right.
All right.
Well, if the bars close at 1, Sunday through, Thursday, then it would
Yeah.
be 2 a.m. and then, I guess 4 a.m. on
So
Friday and
DP
Saturday.
Dough is in fact till 4 a.m. every day?
That's what the listed
I
hours
believe
say.
so. That's what the sign says. I've never tested that, but
You're not there for it, Jim?
no.
I think so. It's uniform, especially like you said, Chris. That's a very specific street that
Yeah.
DPD is always trying to clear.
Does that sound acceptable? 1 hour after the bars closed, the store would transition to foot traffic only, or to, sorry, deliveries only?
Yeah.
Okay. Would that work? So 1 hour after the bars close. It won't be the same as DP Dough, so DP Dough stays open till 4 every night, but for you, it'd be.
For now.
For now, right?
Yeah, we may figure out the DP goes,
Yeah,
Most of my deliveries go at 4 o'clock. And most of like busiest hours like at 4 o'clock, like
okay,
that's what goes this like to
But
this area
deliveries.
actually.
all right. All right, so that sounds acceptable to everybody? All right.
I'm sorry, did we establish a reopening to foot traffic time?
Oh, we did not.
6 a.m.
Oh, yeah, it's 6
You
a.m.
guys are okay with
we
that?
talked about.
That's right.
Yeah.
Is 6 a.m. to reopen to foot traffic? That's okay time?
That's fine.
Okay, 6 a.m.
It's actually
No, they don't open until 4 p.m. apparently.
All right. All right, so at the last meeting, we determined that the proposal involves the reuse of an existing commercial building, which is a type 2 action under seeker, so no further environmental review was required. So I'll make a motion that the requirements for site plan review have been met, contingent on the hours of operation being changed to the store is open for foot traffic to 1 hour past when the bars close every night. At which point it can transition to deliveries only until 6 a.m. when it can open back up to foot traffic. Does that sound acceptable? All right, seconded by Kelly. All in favor? All right, 7 in favor, 0 opposed.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
good
you.
luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Make a motion, we all go to DP though.
Yeah. All right, that concludes all of that. Anybody have any other business they want to discuss? Tito
I
does.
just want to say one thing real quick. The sale of alcohol or smoking products at that location would change the defined use. And it would be a convenience store, which is not allowed in that zoning district. So I just wanted to get that on the record that if they start selling alcohol, tobacco, any kind of smoking product, that would change the use and that would make it no longer allowed.
Tito, do we need to reword our approval motion to include that magical language?
I think you brought it up at the last meeting though, right? Yeah.
Okay.
It was in. Jalen.
So last month, when we had a meeting for Travis Ave, there was no declaration for negative declaration voted on. So I was hoping we would go through that process at tonight's meeting.
So real quick, that requires the reopening of the public hearing, because that EAF would be new information. And so he's correct. We do need to do that at some point, but it can't be done without a public hearing.
Oh, and you need to advertise that?
Unfortunately, yeah. That would be new information that would be presented under the record. And so we would need to redo the legal notice. So I think we can handle that at the December meeting.
I'll make a motion to add that to the agenda for the December meeting.
Okay.
Second.
Oh, all in favor? 7 in favor, 0 opposed. All right.
Hi, Ryan Matt, Assistant Corporation Counsel here, filling in for Bob. To get to Chris's question about the previous one and putting in the stipulation about the tobacco stuff, I think it would be a wise idea to adjust the language to have that in there so that there are no issues going forward as to what's understood and what the responsibilities are.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are we in trouble because he left?
Can we do that in December?
Yeah, maybe.
He's already coming back, right?
I mean, he can't like give a rebuttal to that or kind of negotiate that anyway. So, I don't think it makes a difference if he's.
All right. Well, if she can grab him, we'll have him present. And then if not, we'll just.
And if it was brought up at the prior meeting, they already have notice of it. So it's
Yeah.
not the end of the world, but.
Okay.
So, when she comes back, it could be a motion to reconsider the vote on 81 State Street and then a revised approval motion.
Okay.
By the way, Nick, while we're waiting, I do have to ask humorously. So what is the official policy of during public hearings? Random people like trying to come up and like whisper sweet nothings into my ear. That was.
That's a first for me. Yeah. Why do you think he picked you? Do you know him?
He's public about abstract. I do remember from the previous application from 9 months ago. There was some sort of he's claiming there's some sort of dispute over the parking lot found.
Yeah.
But I've never seen any like
Mm-hmm.
here's a lawsuit where we're trying to quiet. Like, in fact, I even asked them at the last month, like, is there anything going on here to quiet title? Is there any dispute where the lines are?
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
He did. Well,
But
yeah.
So he mentioned something abstract in my ear, but I was just like, Have you seen?
Yeah,
Mhm.
I don't know, Tito, I don't know, do you guys want to talk about that in your planning department meeting about a person approached to the planning commission members aggressively at this meeting? I don't know. He makes me nervous, so he's the only person so far.
You just
that's
sit
made me
over here
real
next
nervous.
time.
Oh,
Like a little stun gun.
If I could just chime in.
Yeah.
that members of the public should not be approaching board members like that. There was the public hearing. They were able to say their piece then. Anything else could be considered extempore. Beyond the scope of it and trying to unduly influence the members. So I would caution against allowing that to happen in the future.
all right.
And I think Chris did appropriately push the gentleman aside and tell him that that was inappropriate. So I don't think there was anything wrong today, but in general, the members should not be approaching because they will have already had the opportunity at the public hearing.
Okay. All right. I didn't see it happening. All of a sudden he was next to you and I don't know. Yeah. I was as shocked as you were to see him there. So I'm sorry that I didn't see him coming at you.
So you gotta have my back.
I know if
So-
I'd seen him coming, I would have said something like, please stop. Or please stop.
Very effective.
Please stop,
Don't.
or I'll say stop again. Yeah. Next time we'll try to, I'll try to be more attuned to what's happening. Yeah.
That's right.
All right, so going back to the last project. So I'm going to make a motion to revise wait, say that again, Tito. To reconsider the last motion. So seconded by Chris, all in favor, 7 in favor, 0 opposed. All right, so I'll revise the approval. So I'll make a motion that the requirements for site plan review have been met. That all the contingencies from the last approval, that the business stays open 1 hour past the bar's closing, then transitions to deliveries only until 6 a.m. where it opens back up to foot traffic. And then also that if the business ever begins selling alcohol or tobacco products, it'll kick it into a different category for site plan review, and that this approval would be null. All right. Seconded by Chris this time. All in favor? 7 in favor, 0 opposed. All right. All right. Any other business? Motion to adjourn. All right. By Tim, seconded by Kelly. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you.